Well, perhaps I need to say that every cell in your body contains the ability, the polysaccharide in the polysaccharides itself to carry out the function necessary for the cycle. But the cycle itself is not needed, or needed only to a minimum, if the body's not, well, if the body is, pretty well speaking, purely resting. It's not just sleeping and snoring away, I mean, it's just not breathing. And the heart's not working. Hence, Paramahansa's thing about you have to be able to achieve this state of the heart not working, or at least breathlessness, which probably means the heart's not needing to pump either. You need to achieve this in order to enter the, the yogic, ecstatic states and so on. Well, fungi and bacteria are important participants in the extracellular cleavage of the polysaccharide. Well, we have a lot of gut bacteria, and fungi and bacteria are the preliminary life forms to plant life, aren't they? They've been on the planet much longer than plants. So again, let's say there's 3 forms of life instead of 2. It's not just plant and animal. I won't say fungi, I'll just say bacteria here, meaning both bacteria, plants, fungi. Bacteria, plants, animal. And we're animal, but each includes the one before, so we're both animal and plant, and plants are both bacteria. And, they're a form of fungi, but a very advanced form. And whatever plants are, this ability to use sunlight. We're back to sunlight again, aren't we? And then the human life, which has an ability to use the bacteria, use the sunlight, and eat whatever's needed to function as an animal form. But we have the capabilities of the previous 2 stages as well. In fact, we can rest at the initial stage of not even being bacteria, but what we think of as non-life forms, which are not motionless, still entities, remember, they just simply don't grow and don't develop, but whose life form is, I'm out on a limb here, I'm saying at the atomic level, where the electrons are moving around the protons and neutrons at a phenomenal speed, are alive in that sense, are in motion. And without Isn't that strange? Without any energy at all, you go down to the temperature zero. Not, well, absolute zero. But the atoms are still very alive. By which I mean incredibly in motion. They're electrons in relation to their electrons. I'm going to pause there. Hang on a sec. We go out on a limb here for a moment. The energy that's virtually unlimited in you is that energy at the atomic level. The sheer amount of motion going on in the atoms, the energy there can be used somehow as necessary or being tapped in some way in this ecstatic state. Now perhaps you need minute amounts of energy, minute even in atomic terms, electron terms of motion, to experience the life of the ecstatic state. It's at a level that either uses energy, but the energy is unlimited at this atomic level. For argument's sake, because it picks up energy from other atoms. They generate each other, A bit like this magnet existing makes this other ion magnetic, and that can make other ion magnetic, and the whole show, all the ion filings can be magnetized right the way across the field without using energy. And yet the magnet itself is now fantastically strong. Look, if at the limit, the dimensions and world you're in when you go into the ecstatic state may be supplied by a fundamental of what we think of in rough terms as energy and matter, that is the unlimited of God. From our childish point of view anyway, the nearest we can say to it. Now then, the Rosetta terminal complexes contain the cellulose synthesis enzymes that synthesize the individual cellulose chains. Now I think it's this thing that we don't have. The cow does. Do you see the Eastern religions got it? There's something about the cow. She's passive. She's a symbol in some sense of non-violence, absolute calmness. And she's the sort of mother of life, because she puts together these chains. Let's think about that for a moment. that what crossed my mind was the Rosicrucians. Rosetta chain, Rosicrucian. That it's the heart of things. I mean, it's a very strange cult type. Well, not cult. No, it's just a religion of sorts. You know, semi-Christian. I mean, utterly rejected by Christianity, of course. But I wonder if that's what's being got at here. And I'm claiming that perhaps we have or can have cultivated or whatever, or maximized, if we are passive, calm, which is what, you know, all the yoga practice is much about. Even Buddhism is sometimes confused with emptying the mind, but perhaps it just means stilling the mind, keeping it on a particular, in the case of Hinduism, you know, reciting a mantra, which we say, oh, well, that's pretty mindless, you know, in a dismissive Christian way. Mindless repetition, you know, prayers are not meant to be like that. And having said that, the modern way of worship is exactly that. It's singing this same line again and again, you know. To worship you I live, to worship you I live to worship you. To worship you I live, and so on and so on and so on. Perhaps you put the mind into a loop, and that becomes extremely simple, uses no, you know, hardly any mind at all, you're mindless. And there's a stillness, a peace that suddenly comes, which is portal, if you like. It's portal to the ecstatic state, near-death experience, whatever you want to call that. So yes, I'm saying that the human being, the human body, person can indeed achieve all the functions of, it's atomic, it's bacterial, it's plant-like, it can receive sunlight too. We started off there somewhere, didn't we, thinking of we can do the photosynthesis perhaps ourselves in the body. Sunbathing, not producing so many cells you've got cancer, of course, and we don't want that. So go easy, won't you? Try it in sort of 10-minute, 20-minute sessions, and not at midday, but just, yeah, something fairly mild, okay? Back to we're wonderfully and fearfully made, and I've got a feeling we may be more wonderfully and fearfully made than we've ever dreamt of. Well, most of us. People like Paramahansa obviously have dreamt of such. But just saying, passing, I didn't realise, you know, that the methane belched from cattle in about 10 years breaks down to carbon dioxide again and water. Isn't that amazing? Is it carbon dioxide and water, or carbon dioxide and hydrogen? Let me check. Well, yes, must release the hydrogen, mustn't it? You're back to just carbon dioxide. So methane is a real problem, greenhouse, but it's just, you know, give it time, and even the methane that's released from the permafrost melting will change back to carbon dioxide. The extra carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, of course, means your forests and jungles grow like mad. Even your deserts start to get a bit green, as we're seeing across the planet to some extent, at present even. And get a hold on the methane gas. Whether you survive the dramatic change of the permafrost melting too fast or not is another point. But if it melts slow enough to, over a period where the methane itself is turning back to carbon dioxide, well, that's all right. Well, it's not too all right, because you've still got lots of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere until the forestry and so on takes a hold of it and locks it back up in the form of cellulose, wood, coal. Now, remember, if you can, coal was all deposited at one particular geological time before the bacteria, which I suppose I've just mentioned, developed on the planet that could handle the cellulose and break it up. And then the wood didn't turn to coal any longer, it was recycled back into the atmosphere by the bacteria or fungi and so on that can consume the dead trees. But before that, the dead trees just laid where they were, and of course, with time and possibly weight on top and so forth, turned into coal and oil and natural gas and so on. Yes. Fantastic planet, isn't it? Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Fantastic life. And sometimes, well, I know this is at a very primitive level, but we get sudden insights into just how wonderful your creation really is. And that's just your creation here, the physical world. And if there are astrals and causal worlds, dimensions that we've not thought of, not just space and time, and heaven itself, how fantastic is your creation? Dare I say it, even from your own point of view? Because it is like that, isn't it? What we put together in little individual stages amounts to the quite fantastic. Love you, Lord. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. You get this, scientists and so on. Physical scientists are not secular like your social scientists are. Found very few Christians, that were sociologists or economists or political scientists. And yet you find loads of physicists and chemists and astronomers and so on who are. I don't mean they follow the Christian religion necessarily, but or that they're wonderfully spiritual particularly, but that they are spiritual in the sense that they believe in the supernatural because they're so impressed by the creation that they're studying. It's fantastic. It's bewilderingly wonderful. Whether it's the human cell or, the star-spread sky, or it's just astonishing. Or the atom. Yeah, the atomic structure of things, the molecules, it's bewilderingly wonderful. We stand in awe of this physical creation, leave alone the notion of God. Wow, thank you, Heavenly Dad. Adding a note here, yes, the Rosetta Stone. And how about sun worship? What's sun worship about? It's something to do with worshipping the sun as if it's the God, the giver of life, isn't it? It's the Rosetta Stone in the sky that gives you the ability to do what the cow does. in her passivity and in her productive capacity to produce the enzyme, if you like, that can put the carbon chain together into cellulose. And you can do it with sunlight and a peaceful, probably thankfulness to God is the peacefulness, isn't it? The assurance, and to sit certain of me, says the scripture, Bhagavad Gita. But most of all I love those blessed ones to whom 'tis life to live in single fervid faith and love unseeing, drinking the blessed Amrit of my being. How's that for a sun worshipper? The blessed Amrit is the sunlight. Are you still with me, or have you despaired and switched off and flipped over to what Trump is doing or something, or what's happening in China? The Rosetta Stone. Perhaps sunlight. It's a hunch, isn't it? No, says the Christian. It's a word. Well, he wouldn't say that. Not in the case of Marshall. He'd have him burnt at the stake as a heretic. But yes, there you go. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Hey, I was reading about japa, and amidst all the paraphernalia, superstition, whatever you like to call it, there's the mantra, the repetition, which starts to shut down the mind in a way, doesn't it? You just repeat. If you're looking east, are you looking towards the sunrise? If you're in the northern hemisphere, I don't know, they've got this notion that you're meditating for an hour or so before sunrise. Got a feeling the attention to the minutiae of detail that constitutes what we see as superstition are simply devices in which you encourage the practitioner, the person who's practicing, to utterly focus the mind. And the more narrowly it's focused, in some sense, the more it's not all happening at once there in the brain. One-pointedness. It's a Buddhist thing, isn't it? Of course, I take it that your one-pointedness should be used to some good effect, like focusing it on God. And that may be the case, but if you're simply out to live for 1,000 years on Earth, or have out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, or actual death experiences, as far as I'm concerned, wisely or not, you could do it this way. And I think not. I think your out-of-body experience could be negative, could be pretty frightening. I need to be so in tune that when I step out into the water, I can swim, and I can't swim. There's no way I step out into the water. No, I can't swim, and I know it. You could say, it just takes faith, dear boy, and off he went and drowned. Jumped off the diving board, couldn't swim automatically in deep water, not a good idea, no. If I step out of this world, I want to be very definitely orientated to heaven, not something less, not even the astral or the causal. I want to step into heaven. well, this might be wishful thinking, Marsha. Yes, it might be. That's my wish, and that's what I value. That's my purpose. And I trust my God is more than able and loves us. Yes. There is a role, you see, for both all the trappings of religion, which are partly something to do with helping to focus the mind, and these ritual practices associated, say, with japa, mantra, chanting and so on, or kriya. And there's a reason for the necessity of devotion to make your one-pointedness of mind take you straight to God, to heaven, to His embrace. If you shake off the body, or its functions even for a short while. Dreaming is hazardous, isn't it? I don't always get good dreams. I suspect, therefore, I'm not quite ready to play the ecstatic saint yet. Although the saints seem to do it spasmodically, they're not permanently in this state, or they'd have left. They'd have transcended for good. I think the very fact that anyone returns to this world means they need to be here. And the very fact that they are not leaving this world may well mean that it's because they're not ready to leave it yet. You can jump over the wall some other way, as in Pilgrim's Progress. After all, we're here, aren't we? We didn't come in through the gate. No, you're right, but we got over the wall. But we're here. That's what matters, isn't it? And of course, Christian in the story thinks this is very suspect indeed. Yes. Even the most, I was almost going to say primitive religion, but even the most basic religion that you think is pretty worldly and pretty skew with can have enshrined in it some amazing, helpful points. If only we have ears to hear. And of course we don't when we're trapped in a religion. We only hang on to the existing theology, and we don't let the Holy Spirit teach us. We block it at every turn and say, no, the theology is this, the teaching is this. This is what I worship. Big mistake. It's not what I worship. I worship God and no one and nothing else. And by God I mean an all-powerful, all-loving, especially all-loving, and in particular loving me, of course, being a selfish individual. Yep. And as I understand it from logical reasoning, if you like, the only God I could really love so totally would be the personification of what I value at present. And I'll have to trust, and will trust, that He can change those values by my experience here in this world, in accordance with His grace, kindness, provision and leading. Here I stand, says Martin Luther. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Oh my goodness, I've gone on for 30 minutes. Well, perhaps you're not burdened with it because you're not with me now anyway. You've given up long ago. Oh, no, that's not true. You're with me. You're still listening. Bless you, and you are blessed. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.